You're muted or something, Brian.
Yeah, sorry about that. I couldn't figure out how to share screen and unmute at the same time, but I got it. Okay. So yes, this will be a brief report on the analysis working group. One thing is that there's been lots of, as you've noticed from the other talks, there's been lots of cross-pollination, lots of groups working together, which is good. So I'll be mentioning some of the efforts of the other groups here also. So one thing that's just been going on in the analysis working group is validation of reflectivity kernels, and this is an effort that's led by Andrew Nelson. So this is mostly just maintaining some code infrastructure that does all these validations. Now that it's all been set up, we just have to make sure it keeps going, and sometimes there's changes to the code that require maintenance. So there's some GitHub actions that run every Monday at midnight that test all of the kernels from a variety of packages, as you can see down here: Born Again, RefNX, Ref1D, RefNX. Oh, I listed the RefNX twice there, sorry. GenX, Anaclassis, and then some other, the NIST web calculator. And it uses some standard data that we have stored here. So if anybody wants to see the standard data, it's listed here, and I'll show you there's going to be some work to add some more. And then calculates the reflectivity from all the standard data and standard layer models, and then compares it to the output from the kernels, and then shows whether or not the kernels are producing the correct output. And then it produces result badges on the homepage for the analysis working group there, the GitHub homepage. And then you can use these badges. If you're the author of one of these packages, you can show that you're passing the tests of the standard data. So this is not a lot of work, but it's just every once in a while, like when there's updates. Born Again had some big updates, and so the tests had to be rewritten recently, and Andrew's been doing all of that. Adding new test data sets, there's some work to go into here. We have a fairly limited set of polarized tests. And so David Cordy has been working on adding some new ones of those, and that's in the early stages. But if anyone else wants to help with that, that would be great. The simple model language, you already saw some discussions of this from the other working groups. It's only mentioned here because nominally it's kind of an analysis subtopic, but it's not being led by the members of the analysis working group. So you already, all the information here is duplicated on things that you already saw. And then it's only been implemented, I think, for importing into GenX. So an activity that can be done going forward is to, also be able to import this into Ref1D or RefNX, and so that's something we can focus on going forward. And the model language, or not the model language, but the standard format, I think there's been a lot of work on producing this, and so the ORSO is able to easily produce this format, and so now consuming it is up to the analysis packages and using it. And there's been a lot of work on doing that, so you can read it in a lot of the major packages, and this helps a lot with, as part of our mission for standardizing operations of reflectivity. There's often a lot of error-prone work when you're importing reflectivity files when you're doing analysis, to make sure that you're using the correct units and using the right data from the right place. And so if you're using a standardized format, it helps a lot to, everybody's analyzing the same thing. So there's a lot of metadata in there that helps with that. And then I've been working a little bit on the new format, being able to encode it also as an HDF5 file, and I'll talk more about that later in the meeting. But here's just a little bit of, it's in the early stages. It's just a simple Nexus namespace where it only implements a couple of the Nexus classes, NX entry and NX data. But there are some new ORSO class attributes, and those could be extended in the future to be a Nexus standard if we wanted to. We don't have to, but those are being used by this format to identify what the classes are on the ORSO side. And then there's already some documentation on what the mapping is, and I'll talk more about that later on in the meeting. And that's it.